Do you have a bank locker? Are you planning to open one? Has your bank asked you to sign a revised bank locker agreement? If yes, then watch this video to know the fine print and your rights as a customer. Welcome to TOI Wallet Talks. Today we have with us Nanda Padmanabhan of bankbazaar.com. Hi Nanda, welcome to the show.
Hi Smriti. Thank you for having me over.
So Nanda, the aim of this episode is to actually educate our viewers on bank locker agreements, charges, any fine print that they should be aware of, and their rights as customers. Okay. So in that regard, my first question to you is that if I am looking to open a bank locker, then what are the top 5 points that I should be aware of in terms of processes, documentation, charges? What is it that I should know and take care of?
The first thing that people need to understand is that you can open a locker in any bank. Even if you do not have an existing banking relationship with the bank, you're still eligible to get a safe deposit locker.
Right.
So say you have your salary account in bank A and there is bank B where you have your savings, and there's bank C right across the street. With whom you have no connections, you can still go to bank C. You will have to get a complete KYC done, of course, but you can still open a bank locker in that particular bank. The other thing, and this is something that a lot of people struggle with, is banks telling them that there is no locker available. But today, especially after the RBI norms that changed in August 2021, the banks have a mandate to maintain a list of vacant lockers, and they also have to maintain a list of waitlisted customers. So if you go to a bank and you apply for a locker, the bank has to take cognizance of your application. They have to respond to it, and you should either be issued a locker if it is available based on your preference, or you need to be given a waitlist number. So the bank can't just tell you it's not available and ask you to move on. So that's the second thing you need to understand. The third thing is that the bank may ask you to open an FD if you wish to avail a locker. This is only for new customers, especially new to bank customers. And so while this sounds a little harsh, the idea behind it is that in case there are defaults or in case the locker is not maintained, then the bank has to have something to fall back on. Right. So the RBI has also rationalized this in a particular way. So the bank cannot ask you to open an FD for any random amount. It has to be for a very specific amount. For instance, as per the mandate, the FD has to be loaded with funds to cover 3 years worth of rent and any charges that the bank stipulates that is required for breaking the locker open in case for 3 years the rent has not been paid and there is no operations happening on the locker. Fourth thing is nominations. Nominations are something that most people don't think about very often when it comes to lockers, but it is a mandate that the bank offers you a nomination facility, and it is very, very essential that you have a nominee associated with your locker and you understand the processes behind it, about how to have a nominee, how to change a nominee, what are the rights and powers that the nominee has in case the locker holder is no longer living. Then what is it that the nominee needs to do? The last thing you need to keep in mind, among the most important ones, is that regardless of all the changes that have come to be, whatever you place in the locker is not insured. The bank cannot sell you an insurance or insure whatever you placed in the locker. The bank does have a liability, but that liability is low. So if you have really expensive stuff that, in terms of jewelry or something else that you are keeping in the locker, then it would be a good idea for you to get that jewelry and those things valued.
Is there anything else in the fine print that I should be aware of? Are there any charges that I should be aware of? And, there is this new RBI guidelines that you have to sign a revised bank locker agreement with your bank till a certain date. I think it's 31st of December 2023. So why has that come about? Is there anything new that I should be aware of as a customer?
For the longest time, there have been a number of consumer complaints. Okay, wherein they have said, at times rightly so, that the banks have insisted on FDs, where people have said they don't really know what the terms and conditions for operating the lockers are. So, with a view to make sure that consumers actually know what is happening, the RBI has asked for a new standardized loan agreement, which and the RBI has told IBA to prepare that standard agreement format, and this agreement format has to be displayed everywhere in the branch online, so that people understand what the terms and conditions are, and so that there is a greater transparency into how the entire locker process actually functions. So in case you do not have an updated locker agreement, it is always a good idea to go to the bank, reach out to them, and update the agreement as required. This is one thing that, one of the finer prints that you need to be sure of. If in case your bank has not reached out to you, which I believe has happened in certain cases, please reach out to the bank yourself and get it done.
Okay, you spoke of banks asking you to have a fixed deposit, especially if you are you have a locker with them for the first time, or you're a first time customer. These fixed deposits are mandatory. Can they insist on it?
So if you are an existing customer of the bank, then there is no way they can, existing customer of the bank with a locker, there is no way they can insist on it. The FDs may be insisted only if you are a new to bank and you're applying for a locker for the first time. In that case, the bank has no idea about your investments or your savings or any of that, and as a safeguard, they would require an FD. If you have a locker that you are using currently, the bank cannot insist on you opening a new FD just on the basis of what the FD is.
Okay. So my understanding is that this revised bank locker agreement is basically to bring in more clarity for customers in terms of the liability of banks in case of any loss of any calamity or anything.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
in that regard, if there is a building collapse, or if there is a fire, or if there is a natural calamity, then what is the liability of the bank? How much am I likely to recover? And as you said that one should look to insure what is there in the locker if it is of a very high value. Then how does that insurance process work?
There have been cases where things have gotten lost from the safe deposit vaults that are housed in banks. There have been thefts, there have been other things. Now, in such situation, and in most of the cases, everything was recovered, but there was also a lot of fear in the minds of people about what if things get lost or stolen from the bank vaults. So, in order to improve customer confidence, the RBI has kind of kept a bare minimum liability on the banks. So, at this point, what the RBI says is that banks cannot claim that they bear no liability towards customers for loss of contents of the locker.
Right.
But this liability is capped at 100 times the annual locker rent. If your annual locker rent is rupees 5,000, you will be protected against losses of up to rupees 5 lakhs. This is due to incidents like fire, maybe theft, robbery, building collapse like you mentioned, or anything else that goes wrong in the bank's premises due to any negligence or shortcomings of the bank. A natural calamity, like there is a flood or there is an earthquake. In such situation, things go, the building collapses, then that is considered as an act of nature, and in such cases, the bank may not be liable. Okay. But of course, that doesn't mean that the banks have no responsibility at all. They are expected to exercise appropriate care to protect the premises from natural catastrophes. Right. So if you have jewelry worth say 20-30 lakhs in your locker and your annual rent is around say 10,000, then the maximum liability that you will be covered for is 10 lakhs.
Right.
So in such situation, it's always better to have an insurance cover for your valuables, even if it is in the bank.